Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on Time Sports Talk. I am Casey, the remix schedule, and you can see my counterpart looking bald and beautiful, Eddie, the original schedule.
Hi,
Yeah,
how are y'all?
it's been a minute.
Good to see you.
And
It's been a minute.
in
I'm
all
looking
fairness,
off to the side. I need to move everything over this way because
you're-
I'm looking off to
I don't know
the
what you're doing.
side.
You fix yourself. I'm going to give a little history to the people while you do that. In fairness, we recorded a week or two ago. I thought it was a terrible show. I'm pretty much the creator, producer, editor.
You suck. You suck.
We both sucked in that. So I didn't post.
You are terrible.
We probably had some decent moments from it, but in honor of our number one fan and us coming back, we're going to try once again to start funny because she likes the jokes. So go ahead, try to crack me up with your joke. Try to get the fans laughing. Let's go.
All right, so don't laugh. What was Forrest Gump's password to his computer?
His password to his computer.
Yes.
Something with Jenny, probably, but go ahead.
One Forrest one. One Forrest one. Get it?
Oh, I get it.
Now that was funny right there.
Wow.
I know what my password is.
I'm
Casey.
running away from that joke right now.
I was running.
Awful. All right.
Jenny, I was running.
All right, folks. There we go. That's why we talk sports and we're not comedians. All right. We got a massive, fun-filled hour for you. Hopefully you stick around for the entire hour. Right before we started recording, my dad was like, hey, what are you doing over there with no sleeves? You're trying to be Pat McAfee or something over there? No, it was just the first shirt I grabbed, and it's one of my Navy shirts. So, freedom, courtesy of the United States Navy.
And so the little story is, though, I did 20 years in the Navy. I do not have a tattoo.
That is impressive all on its own. Me, your other son who served Dallas, we are both tatted.
And what do I say? What do I say? You don't put bumper stickers on a Ferrari.
Not a Ferrari, though. You're like a dump.
Well, I could be like a Ferrari SUV, but yes, I'm a Ferrari. That's why I don't have.
Now that's funny right there. All right, folks. We got college football on the docket. We got Cowboy issues. We got a little bit of Ranger.
We never ever not had Cowboy issues.
Well, not since we've been recording. So
not since Jerry World. That's late.
We're also going to give you our top 5 quarterbacks, our top 5 impact defensive players, and our humble opinions. So let's go ahead and start with the Dallas Cowboys. All right. Contracts and cuts. Contracts.
Are we all in? Are we all in? That's how I need to know. Are we all in?
That didn't take long for you to pull that out. Ready.
I keep telling CD. I gave CD some money and some CDs. And CD done turned down the money and the CDs.
Yeah, because it wasn't enough.
Oh, God.
For a humble teacher coach like myself and a humble CEO of yourself, $33 million is a lot of money. But it's not number one in the league wide receiver money to CD Lamb. And CD wants to be above Justin Jefferson.
He wants to be above JJ. And say, I like JJ because he got the same initials I do. You see that? Jared Jones and Justin Jefferson, JJ. But then we take 2 more initials, CD. And CD needs to understand something. He needs to be here with the Cowboys. And he needs to help us out. I thought we had money, but we didn't have a lot of money, and I'm trying to give him a lot of money. I even offered him free rides in my helicopter. What you think about that? I said, CD, you can use my helicopter to go to the Jiffy Mart or whatever you want to do.
Did you just say
And he
Jiffy
turned
Mart?
it down.
All right, yeah, the CD contract situation has gotten out of hand. In my opinion, I thought it would be done by now, but you still got Dak sitting out there. You still got CD's issues. Oh, obviously, he's holding out for camp. The rumor is he will be back for week 1. You know,
Do you believe that? I don't believe it.
I do think he'll be back for week 1.
I don't think he will. I'm
Because
going to be honest. I think it's going to be 2 games in. It's like the old, what was it? Emmett missed first 2 games. Was it Emmett that held out, missed first 2 games one year?
that is correct. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going into the season, to be honest with you. I think he's made his point, and I think he's ready to walk after the season if they don't get it. Because when he starts missing game checks, that's a little tough
Well,
to pass.
yeah, I just think it puts all the pressure on Dak, and if they don't get it done, it's going to cause so much turmoil in those first few weeks when they need to start off strong that I think it's going to have a ripple effect that we may see the end of, as I call them, the triplets, which is Micah, CD, and Dak, the new triplets to me. We may see the end of all 3.
Well, didn't I tell you? I've said it many times before that all these dudes are on 1-year contracts. I think I think he's ready to blow it up if they don't win a Super Bowl or at least get to an NFC Championship game. Which is, if he wants to sign them after that, it's going to cost him even more.
So yeah, we talked about that before. To me, it's the stupidest approach in my mind is waiting for everybody else to get signed because you just drive the price tag up. You should try and get it done before everybody else. Figure out your damn cap situation. You know, for being a quoted $10 billion organization, they can't figure out the damn cap situation. They can't do the same stuff that the Eagles do. They can't do the same stuff that the 49ers do. I mean, the only ones worse at it to me are the Giants, maybe. Because, you know, the Giants are that's going to be an ugly team this year to me.
Well, I mean, you got to give the Giants credit in this realm of they let Saquon, I kind of watched a little bit of that off-season Hard Knocks with the Giants. I haven't watched all of it, but one of the things I did see was they gave Saquon the opportunity to go out there and see what he gets, and the Giants wanted to see if they could match it. Like, if the Cowboys would have did that with Zeke, they wouldn't have been in a terrible contract with Zeke for the last 2 or 3 seasons of his contract when he held out. And so instead of getting him done early, they have the pattern of waiting, as you said, that drives the price up. You know, they could have redone Dak a year or 2 ago, saved themselves. Yeah, you would have been paying Dak, $50 million or something of that nature, 48 or 45 million a year. Well, that's a bargain going forward in NFL money terms. And you get a quarterback who is in the conversation of, top 10 quarterback. If you have a quote unquote top 10 quarterback, you should be able to win a Super Bowl or at least get there. So ultimately, the Cowboys keep putting themselves in these corners that they got to fight out of, and it puts themselves in terrible situations. Last year, Zach Martin held out, and he's a Hall of Fame. He's up there, one of the best guards that have ever played this game. Next to Larry Allen, he's number 2 on my list when it comes to Dallas Cowboy guards. So, the contract issue is, I don't know. I don't wish the man to be dead by any means. I don't know if the Cowboys ever win another Super Bowl until Jerry Jones dies and gives up the GM role. And it may not even happen then because it's going to be Stephen Jones.
Another big issue that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, it's the cornerback situation. The fact that they let Stephon Gilmore. They didn't get him to stay because they were counting, and I get it. They were counting on Bland to be across the way from Diggs. But now, where do you stand? You have no backup. You have nothing. I mean, you're going to put in Carlin. Okay. Unproven 5th-round draft pick.
Well, you have Jordan
But
Lewis.
you got Lewis. Yeah.
He's solid.
He's solid. But see, there's a difference between being solid and a shutdown corner. Gilmore, as old as he is, was still a shutdown corner. Proved that last year. And I understand they were depending on Bland, but now you're out, 6 to 8 weeks with Bland.
Yeah.
And so I just think the defense is going to suffer again because there were names out there that they could have got. But the bottom line is they should have tried to lock up Gilmore to at least provide some consistency. Because that's one thing about Gilmore his entire career. He's been consistent. He's not one that constantly gets beat. He's not one to mess up. Whereas Bland, we saw a few games with Bland last year that he was just getting burned.
Well, Bland and Trayvon Diggs, which were your projected starters, and Trayvon coming off the injury, first year from that is always, kind of wait and see. Normally year 2 when they're back to 100%. But those two corners, if you remember Trayvon when he had double-digit interceptions, it was feast or famine sometimes. He would get burned on the back end because he's gambling. Bland gambles sometimes as well. That's just their style. And you got to live with it because that's how they play. But they do get you turnovers. But yeah, you're not very deep right now.
No. I mean, there's nothing about the secondary except for Diggs that would scare me as a quarterback. I mean, and I have a feeling, unfortunately, we're going to find that out really quickly.
I mean, it's not easy out of the gate for the Cowboys on their schedule. And this is where your boy that you were excited about that they brought in, Mike Zimmer, he's got to work some magic there. And that defensive line is going to have to come through and get some pressure on the quarterback to help the secondary out. So it'll be interesting how he schemes that. You were talking about cuts or in our pre-recording session. Well, what cuts are you looking at to ultimately, might surprise you, that could potentially go? Are you sure you wanted to cut him?
It's not a surprise to me, and I just think it was a nice experiment. Is Deuce Vaughn? I think the nice story. His dad was a scout and all that stuff, but I think Deuce Vaughn, he was built for college, and he did well there. But I just think his size is just, if he had explosive speed, explosive cut ability, if that's even a word.
Probably not.
Probably not, but I think it was a nice experiment. But I think, but then again, if you think about the depth at running back, it's another issue, right? Because they didn't get anybody behind Zeke. No, I still stand by what I said. I think Zeke is going to do better things than what's expected of him this year. And plus, I like Zeke as far as being a pass protector. He is one of the best in the league at pass protection.
Come on. When you brought this up a couple months ago, I'm going to say the same thing I did then, man. If we're hanging our hat on Zeke Elliott, and I understand he's quote unquote in his 20s, but he's an old ass 28, 29 years old. And if we're going, he's a good pass protector, that doesn't mean anything on first and second down most of the time. Like he better be able to pass protect because they're not going to get more than 4 yards on the first.
What he's going to give you that they didn't have last year is that goal line offense. They can have somebody pound that in.
They're not going to get down there.
Well, that remains to be seen. If they don't have CDE and they got turmoil there, yeah, I mean, absolutely could be an issue. But I think they're really going to have to lean on Fergalicious this year. I think Ferguson's going to have a big year at tight end. But once again, they're going to have to figure out a way to get this running game going. And I mean, I've watched preseason, and Dowdle, he's a decent back, but he's not a flashy guy who's going to get you 100 yards every game.
I'm gonna address the Deuce Vaughn conversation here with you real quick. I don't know if they cut him. Kind of projections I've seen have him on the roster. Actually, the scary thing is that the projections I'm seeing is they're talking about keeping 5 of the running backs on the 53-man roster, and that tells you if you got 5, you really don't have any. With Elliott, Dowdle, Freeman, Vaughn, and Luke K. Maybe he's a practice guy.
No, it's not Luke. It's Luke.
But
plays for the Mavericks.
But I mean, you're gonna have to find something, and maybe something comes out of a late cut from a team or a mid-season trade or something like that. But they're, like I said, they're gonna have a hard time getting the goal line because they're gonna be asking Dak Prescott to throw the ball 50 to 70 times a game. And
well, hell, they're up against Myles Garrett the first damn game of the season,
which you might see him on one of my list here in a minute. But it's one of those things.
Only saving grace is the Saints. I think it's hard. It's
better than you think.
Yeah, well, but then they've got the Raven, and then the Giants, I think, is a game. But this actually brings me to, before we get to our list here, where I think one of the most intriguing teams in the NFL this year, it's going to be to watch, is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because you have 2 starting quarterbacks, and Tomlin's already gone into that. Coach, well, I'll make my decision by this Friday. Who's going to start? Personally, for me, I think you start Fields.
I agree.
And, because he just gives them a different dynamic. I was watching him against Detroit in the preseason. He gives them a totally different dynamic at quarterback because the defense is scared that he can take off and run. He has a strong arm. I think what we've seen from him is something we haven't seen from Trey Lance this year. I think it's another thing about the Cowboys when it comes to backup quarterbacks. We don't have someone who's can last 4 or 5 games. So God forbid something happens to that. Huh?
Cooper
can handle 2 or 3 games when he's got good people around him.
Hold on. And don't lie about this. A few years ago, when Dak got hurt and Cooper Rush came in and went 4-1 or whatever, you were trying to make the argument of keeping Cooper Rush as the starting quarterback over Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I was drunk. But
I hope you're drunk, but you must have been drunk multiple times because we had that conversation multiple times. And you were crazy.
My problem with Cooper Rush is he doesn't have a strong arm.
Well, I don't disagree. I will talk. You mentioned Trey Lance. Trey Lance showed that explosiveness in. I don't know if you watched the last preseason game. I just saw highlights, but the dude went up the sideline and beat everybody. He has.
He can. The problem with him has been consistency.
He's got.
Well,
I don't disagree with that. He obviously couldn't win the job over Brock Purdy in San Francisco. I think there's potential there, but I don't think it's worth blowing the team up, which is probably on the horizon, to try to go, oh, look, I was smarter than everyone else because Trey Lance developed into something. I don't necessarily see that happen. I see Trey Lance as developing into a solid backup quarterback for his career. He's not a franchise guy. I don't think he's a starter. He may develop into, maybe he could have a Geno Smith resurgence or something like that. I don't know. But I think he has the raw talent when it comes to his athleticism. But here in the next 5 years, that's going to recede, as it does with all athleticism and athletes in their prime. And when they start exiting the prime, and when he exits, he does.
I think most y'all are wrong.
Shit, here comes
because, see, I think Trey Lance, and see, Lance is like one of them, it's not a sword, it's one of them things you stick in somebody, right? It's a lance, right? It's like you joust with it on a horse. And that's why I wanted Trey, because he's like a lance. In other words, he's not a sword that's going to crack you, but he going to get with it. And that's what I think I'm going JJ, you going to say JJ is a genius when Lance takes over, because Dak's Dak, right? Dak's Dak. But it's Trey. It even flows off the
All
tongue,
right.
Trey Lance.
Yes. All right. Jerry, I'm done. Jerry,
Why?
shut up. Jerry's done for the day.
You just started like slaving me, sugar.
Jerry, you're done. Let's move on. It's time for our list. We did this list, or at least half of this list, in our last video. Like I said, video sucked. This one may suck too, but I got to get something out there. I had people at our veterans meeting, Texas A&M, asking about the podcast. So people are looking for it and wanting it. And there may be something in development with the Veteran Service Center there at A&M in the works. So just a little foreshadowing for the people. But the list we already did was yours and I's top 5 quarterbacks. You, if I remember right, are insane by keeping one gentleman off your list. So I will go with my number 5. I'll go 5-1, and then I'll let you go because I want the people to hear your ridiculousness of leaving this guy out. Yes, it's asinine, and I'm building this up, and the people are going to support.
Asinine. Do you even know what asinine
Yes,
means?
I do. So, but you
It's
can't
an
spell
ass
it.
with an iron on it.
Oh my God. Anyways, all right. My number 5 is a tie. Okay. And one of the guys on here, I am sketchy on putting him this high in the league, but the dude wins. And I think winning and being available is part of this. And the tie is Brock Purdy and Joe Burrow. That's my tie for 5th. Burrow, he would be higher if he could stay healthy. That's the issue with him. Brock Purdy wins games and gets to NFC Championship game and gets to Super Bowls. So that's my number 5. So number 4 is Dak. Number 4 is Dak Prescott. Number 2 in the MVP voting last year. I think he's better than what people give him credit for. Last year, he looked fully healthy off the ankle injury. He looked comfortable again. He's going to have to play like an MVP candidate for the Cowboys to even be competitive right now in games. Like, I had them going 12-5 before the year. Now with the Bland injury, the lack of running, that's scary. That keeps scaring me more than ever. I do like how Guyton looked at left tackle, though. That was encouraging. But Dak, number 4. Josh Allen, number 3 in Buffalo. That's my 3rd best. His combination, and you can see by his reaction, people, he's foreshadowing it. You know what's coming on him.
No Buffalo.
So,
Buffalo.
Josh Allen, the man, the talent level is insane. The arm talent is insane. And his scrambling, I mean, he runs like, he reminds me, it's kind of crazy to say, he's like the quarterback version of Mike Oslot sometimes. Like, he just runs over. Mike Oslot I'm probably butchering his last name. He was with Tampa Bay, the big fullback. Yeah, Allstott. Sorry. I messed up his name.
You making him some Russian dude.
My bad, Mike.
I should play for Tampa Bay. All stuff like you.
My bad.
My name combination.
So he's like the quarterback version of Allstott. Like, just the way he'll run over people sometimes. He probably needs to tone that down a little bit, but he's an amazing quarterback. Number 2 is Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, just the most dynamic 2 dual threat quarterback we've ever seen with his speed. In my opinion, there's only been one other time where the quarterback's been the fastest player on the field besides Lamar Jackson, and that was Michael Vick in Michael Vick's prime. But Lamar is taking it up to another level on his passing ability from where Mike Vick was. And then number 1, hands down, I know we both have the same number 1, Pat Mahomes. There's no question about who the best quarterback in the league is. It's Patrick Mahomes. He threw behind the back the other day in preseason, which they say that it was actually a planned play. Like, they were BSing on the sportscast. like, oh, you were in the wrong route, or no, they practiced it. I've seen the other stuff with that. But the other throws left-handed. I mean, he's just insane on how he sees the game, feels the game, and ends up, executing. It's been amazing. And now he's got deep threat like Xavier Worthy from Texas. He's got some tools in the toolbox over there now. And I think he's going to build a masterpiece of a house this year. Maybe a la his 50 touchdown pass season. Might be up there around there. But that's my top 5. Tie for 5th, Brock, Burrow, then Dak, then Allen, then Jackson, then Mahomes. Go ahead. The old man's list. Bald and beautiful. Hit me with it.
Okay, so number 6, because you say he's not on the list, is Josh Allen. And I'm going to tell you why he's not on my top 5. As I've said before, because he has lost his number 1 go-to person. Diggs is now in Houston. And I've always said when he was in trouble, because he puts himself in the stupidest situations, because he'll hold the ball too long, and he's looking for Diggs to get open. And Diggs worked with him, and bless his heart, he would get open. And Buffalo should have paid that man whatever he wanted. But the problem is he knows that Josh does this. That's why he wanted out of Buffalo. There wasn't even talk about him staying to Buffalo. He said, hell no, Buffalo, because I don't want to play with Josh Allen anymore. So he left. Okay, so let me get to my list. So number 5 is in his second year is C.J. Stroud. I think Stroud has a level head on his shoulders. I think
already?
I think he is going to do very well this year.
Is it because he has Stephon Diggs?
Did you notice how that went? He's now going to have that go-to guy. Yeah, but the thing is, Stroud still got them to the playoffs without that go-to guy. And now he's going to have it. So Stroud. Number 4, I guess we agree, is Prescott. I think last year he had a really great year. MVP voting. Unfortunately, it's the playoffs that he needs to top, but that's where he needs to learn how to win, right? And then Burrow is number 3. And I just think, yeah, he has a problem getting injured, but when that man is not injured, he is a Mahomes chief killer. He will take them out. I really hate to say that because I'm an A&M graduate and he's an LSU quarterback. I hate that, but he's damn good when he's healthy. And then Lamar Jackson was number 2 for you. It's the same for me. I would almost, if Lamar could beat Mahomes and could win a Super Bowl, I would put him ahead of Mahomes. That isn't happening yet. I just think Lamar has got better every single year that you watch him play. I think is what most people don't give him credit for is he has one of the strongest arms in the NFL. And he can throw on one foot. He can throw on his back. I mean, in all contorted ways, almost like Mahomes, who is number 1, of course. He is the reigning football king with the Chiefs, and I just think he's another one that it's going to be hard to knock him off that pedestal. So there you go. So number 5, Stroud, 4, Prescott, 3, Burrow, number 2, Mr. Jackson, and number 1, the Chief Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, the top is, we agree. I understand your argument about the receiver, but I just don't think that changes how good Josh Allen has already proven he's been. And
they're going to see.
We are going to see. I mean, if I think, a rookie quarterback that has a lot of weapons that can make some things happen, like Stroud did. I mean, is Caleb Williams going to jump up? Things like that. I'm putting Stroud in 1 year now that teams have tape on him for a full season. You know what defensive coordinators do. They take away your tendencies. They want to take away your best player, your go-to, which was Nico Collins last year. I believe in Stroud. Don't get me wrong. I think he's legitimate. I just think that's a little high for him. A couple quarterbacks that aren't on the list that I think are going to be interesting to see how they turn out is Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers plays okay, that Jets defense is a beast. I think he's going to have a little resurgence if he doesn't get injured. You mentioned the Fields thing. I think Fields should play over Russell Wilson. I am interested to see how the rookie quarterbacks do this year. Williams, I think Drake May was named the starter, or no, Bo Nix was named the starter for Denver. You know, the rookie class is going to be really interesting. But 5, little disagreement there. But let's move on to our next top 5 list. Top 5 impact defensive players.
You want me to start this out?
Yeah, you go first. I went first last time. You hit the people with your list first.
All right, so let me go first. And like we said, these are a certain position on defense. It's just who we think are the most impactful players on defense in the NFL active roster right now. Mine, the 2 guys have the same last name for 4 and 5, or 5 and 4, I should say. 5 is Joey Bosa with the Los Angeles Chargers. I think, dude, you have to watch the dude play, and he makes an impact. Now, last year, a little bit off, but I think he's got something to prove, and he's got a damn good coach this year. Nick Bosa with the 49ers, his brother, goes without saying. He's a Cowboy record. He's a wrecker in just about any time he's out there on the field. This one might surprise you a little bit, but Max Crosby with the Las Vegas Raiders. I think he's another one. He goes a little under the radar, but that dude causes a disruption as he comes off the end all the time. And they move him around, which I would do too. He's another one. He just causes disruptions to whoever he plays. But then the next 2 kind of go back and forth, but my number 2 is Mr. Watt, TJ Watt with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it just brings a attitude. Even when he's having an off game, he still gets his defense going. And, he's another one. He's starting to get dings every year, but hopefully if he can stay healthy, like I said, I think Pittsburgh's going to be a team to keep an eye on. They're going to be intriguing this year. And then, of course, number 1, I have the Micah Parsons project. I think what he can do and what he forces offenses to do to try and neutralize him, even though we know they're freaking holding 80% of the time on him that they never freaking call. I'm really interested, and I'm hoping that Zimmer makes some changes and moves him around like they did his first year when they were moving it from linebacker to end and all. That was actually pretty ingenious. And I think they need to get him out of the same spot every time. I don't think he's a true defensive end. I think he's a hybrid, and I think you need to move him around. But that's mine right there. So Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Crosby, Watt, and Micah.
All right, solid list. I'm going to tell you, neither of the Bosas are on my list.
Really?
Joey is too injury prone. And Nick is probably my 6th guy. All right. If we were extending this out. But number 5 is actually his teammate. Because we talked about impact. We didn't say best. We talking about impact. Fred Warner, the middle linebacker for the 49ers. He does so much for that team. He's the quarterback of the defense. That dude is a game wrecker on multiple levels. So I went with Fred Warner over Nick Bosa in that 5th spot. But Nick Bosa is an amazingly talented dude. I would take him in a heartbeat in a Cowboys jersey. So, Nick, if you ever want to leave San Francisco, please give Jerry a call. He's right here with me. He can turn into Jerry and sign you in a heartbeat right there. My number 4.
All in on that one.
That would be all in if you traded for Nick Bosa. I'll give you that. I can't believe this dude isn't on your list. This guy is a freak of an athlete. He reminds me a little bit of Julius Peppers and his athleticism and what he does on the field. It's Myles Garrett at number
I
4.
had a hard time leaving him off, but the reason I did is because of the team he plays on. I think Miles is not going to reach his true potential till he moves teams.
I don't know.
To
The
be honest,
Browns, if Deshaun Watson ever figured himself out, the Browns would be pretty dangerous. They got a
get
lot
out
of
the
playmakers.
massage room.
Who doesn't like a happy ending
And
to
how
their
much is
story?
he making? Like $100 billion a year?
No one's making $100 million a year. He's making like, but
$100 billion a year.
he just got the highest guarantee, which was insane. The Cleveland owner might be the only one who's dumber than Jerry Jones. But Myles Garrett, his athleticism off the edge and its strength that he's added since A&M, which, by the way, I believe he's an Aggie. I can't believe you didn't add that to your equation. So, but Myles Garrett, number 4, insane. Number 3, you didn't surprise me. We got him in the same place, is Max Crosby. I had Max Crosby on my list. I also love his tattoos. Ink game is strong. But that dude is a wrecker as well. He is a disruptor. You know, that just an insane of a defensive end there in Las Vegas. And I think he's kind of a steal or kind of a diamond in the rough. I don't think he was a very high draft pick. Someone can fact check me on that. But I think he may have been undrafted or a super late round. So 1 and 2, we have them flipped. I have Mike at number 2 because of his tendency to wear down throughout the year. Now, like you said, there may be some schematic things that Mike Zimmer does to help out with that, but he seems to, those first 8 or 9 games, really start off just being a absolute destroyer of offenses. And then it tends to kind of disappear because he seems to get worn down because he's not a true defensive end, because he isn't that guy in that position of not the size of a Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, those type of guys who helps them not wear down in the long run.
Crosby was actually selected in the 4th round of 2019. He was 106 overall.
Okay, so 4th. So not super high, not super low. So thank you for letting me know that. I should have had that info. But to number 1, TJ Watt, he's just, in my opinion, a little bit better than Micah Parsons. And I think he does a little bit more because he does drop into coverage. He does make a few more plays at the linebacker position because the Steelers run a 3-4 system instead of a 4-3 system. And so TJ, to me, he's the best. When Aaron Donald retired, he became the best defensive player in the league to me. And so those are my top 5 impact players: Watt, Micah, Max, Myles, and Fred Warner. And so any challenges or any absolute, what hell are you thinking?
Agree. I mean, I think it's like I said, Watt and Micah, you could go back and forth whether either one of them or 1 or 2. And it's Micah still is fairly young compared to Watt. So, yeah, I don't have any disagreements with any of those.
Yeah, I think
we don't have any of the Bosa brothers, but
the only Bosa brother that deserves to be on there in 2024 is Nick. Joey is falling off. He's been injured way too much these last 2 years.
A lot of the Chargers didn't fall out with crappy ass coaching they had last year. So
talking about they had the offensive genius of Kellen Moore.
Well, yeah, how'd that work out for him?
All right, greatest Boise State quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to stick with football, but we're going to change gears here. College football is upon us. Week 0 just happened. Florida State gets upset by Georgia Tech out of, not a FCS school, but not a powerhouse by any means. I think Florida State, weren't they ranked number
on the plane? Yeah, someone didn't sleep on the plane to Ireland because they played in Ireland.
All right. Oh, hopefully they got some. Hopefully the Georgia Tech. Are they the Yellow Jack?
What are we going to do? Pet peeves about sports at the end again?
We can.
We'll save it for that.
Yeah, you can add one onto the list. Interesting that they're ranked number 10, or they lose to Georgia Tech, not a powerhouse. See what type of year Georgia Tech has. But before we get into week 1, let's kind of give some things we are looking forward to for the entire season. And my first one, then I'll let you hit your first one. My first one I'm looking forward to is the Texas A&M game. I mean, not because you're an Aggie and I am an Aggie now, technically, hopefully get the ring next semester. But I just think the renewal of that rivalry, I believe it is a massive rivalry. It was sad when it stopped. I put the number 1 rivalry in college football as Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Oklahoma's on that list. And then it's, I'm not saying it's ahead of Texas A&M, but it's up there. Auburn, Alabama is on that list, so it was sad to see it. So the renewal of that, and it's in Kyle Field, I think it's exciting. That's the first thing I'm looking for. So yeah, I think that's going to be a hell of a game. Too bad I don't make it up money to afford tickets. So
yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that too. So I think for Texas A&M and Texas, the fact that they weren't playing each other to me was a little ridiculous. I think Texas kind of, were a little bit crybabies about it because A&M said they would still play them even though they were in the SEC. But Texas said, no, you left us, so we're not going to play you. So
don't they look like hypocrites now?
Yeah, but so now it's time to get that going again. I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm looking forward to our very first game with A&M too, because we're taking on Notre Dame. You've got a couple big matchups. Usually the first week is a bunch of scrubs playing the tough teams. It's just so and I've never understood that about, my team. If I'm like the Raging Cajuns out of Louisiana, why would I play Georgia in the first game or something like that?
I can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, my team's just going to get the crap beat out of them.
Well, but the reason they do that is because the big team will pay them to come do it. And that's basically
about money.
Yeah, that's basically their athletic budget for the year.
Yeah, it's basically, okay, guys, all right, man, get out there. I know you're going to get the shit knocked out of you, but we got paid.
Michigan paid Appalachian State to beat them.
Well, yeah.
When the upset happened, hilarious.
All right. So, like I said, to me, this is what's different about this week 1. You've got Georgia, number 1, and then playing Clemson. And so that's going to be, I'm looking forward to watching that because we're gonna have to see how that goes. They're playing Atlanta, and then you've got, like I said, A&M playing Notre Dame. That is going to be a very interesting game. And if you look at the betting lines, Notre Dame is actually an underdog, even though they're ranked number 7 to number 20 at Texas A&M. It's because they're coming into Kyle Field. And I think for us, for A&M, it's really going to tell us what we got. Or at least if this new coach, and obviously he's a new coach, and that's one of the reasons they're playing Notre Dame. He was their defensive coordinator, made a name for himself. So he wants to go play his old team. So we'll see if that helps because he knows a little bit about Notre Dame. But if A&M pulls out that win and that first one there, that's going to legitimize this new coach. So those are what I'm looking forward to as far as college.
A&M better hope this coach is legitimate because they just paid $70 million to get rid of the last one. All right,
Jimbo.
So
Jimbo.
To stay, I am interested to see how the new teams in the new conferences look. Texas and Oklahoma, obviously in the SEC. You got the teams who left the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten, as well as, with USC and UCLA. I think Washington went to the Big Ten as well, and the new look Big 12. And I'm also, the other side of that, I'm interested to see how all that wraps in because you still have 4 major conferences. You have the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12, although it's not as good as it was, how those relate into the college football playoff, the first time we have 12 teams. I think is awesome. I think out of those 4 conferences, I think the conference championship or champion should be guaranteed a spot in those situations. That's just a personal opinion. I know that's not how it's going to be or how it is right now. It's just the top 12, because I think I think we don't need to go to 2 super conferences with the dissolution. I really actually think it would be better if the Pac-12 would have stayed intact, and it would have made it a lot more interesting when it came to the college football playoff. But the logistics of those games are hilarious. Stanford traveling all over to, across the country in the ACC is just hysterical. But the college football playoff, I think, is going to be exciting. I think it does give a little more leeway on losses. Now that it's 12 teams, you might be able to get in with 2 or 3 losses, depending on how the landscape
And
is.
that's been the big thing is that, if a team comes out the gate and loses 1 or 2 games, their season's over, for most of the time for college football. So this actually doesn't make it quite so over. So hopefully it'll put a little bit more, take away some of that, crap. We just lost to Appalachian State. We're out of it. Hopefully that'll go away. So Appalachian State, dang.
They have a very beautiful campus. Don't knock Appalachian State.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Got a
In
lot
the
of
fall,
mountain men up there.
have you seen their baseball stadium against the fall backdrop? I mean, it's incredible. It's
Yeah,
almost
it's
up there
beautiful.
with I think there's one in Utah, in Salt Lake City or something like that. The backdrop is the mountains and stuff. It's some gorgeous stuff out there. But anyways,
All right.
awkward.
It's college football.
All right.
So
Apparently we are. Okay. I was looking something up and then you stopped talking and I forgot what I was looking up for college football. So we'll just move on to kind of our last one here and then we'll let you add, because you said you had a sports pet peeve. I'll let you add one to the sports pet peeve list. But before we get to that, kind of most folks, if you follow us, we tend to skew towards the DFW market. That's where we're both from. It's the teams we're fans of. We're coming towards the end of the Major League Baseball season. The world champs, the defending world champs, the Texas Rangers, rest in peace.
Yeah. I was a fan. I really thought they had this thing going. I mean, they came out of the gate hot, and I thought, okay, cool. And then the Astros came out of the gate cold, and all of a sudden it flipped. And I honestly, during the whole season, I was saying, man, they need to go get Dusty back because Houston just looks all discombobulated. But all of a sudden, they've risen back up to the top, and now they're leading that American League West. And so they are holding their own. And right now, unfortunately for the Rangers, they're so far back. Basically, what are they? They are 9 games back of the Astros. I'm not sure how many games are left in the season, but we're getting pretty close.
Yeah, the Rangers are done. I mean, injuries played a massive role into this as well.
That's true.
But I think Scherzer is done in a Rangers uniform, if not done completely. He'll turn 40, 41 in the middle of next season. He's having nerve issues. Now, the guy's a competitor from all get out, and if he can get out there, he'll get out there. But I think he's more likely to go to a team that is probably guaranteed in a lot of people's eyes to make the playoffs, like maybe the Dodgers or Yankees or something like that on a discounted rate, because he's not going to get what he's making now. I think he's making like $40 million. So he's been fighting that injury. Obviously, DeGrom being out all year. There are positives from DeGrom. He's making his rehab starts. He hit 99 on the gun in his last one. He's projected to pitch, I think, double what he did in his last rehab start. He might be able to make a couple appearances before the end of the year. and then hopefully go into next year with a full off season, healthy. Hopefully those guys that have fallen this season, like Adolis Garcia hitting the ball, they can use this off season to kind of correct a few things in their swing, get their confidence back. Seager fought through some injuries. They still have the pieces to be successful. And if you look at the traditional trajectory of Bruce Bochy's World Series winning teams, the year after has never been good. San Francisco would win every other year, just like your Spurs back in the 2000s. It'd be every other year. And those years in between, they wouldn't even make the playoffs in the San Francisco Giants. So it should be pretty interesting, I do believe, in year 3, the final year of Bruce Bochy's contract. And can the Rangers rebound and get out there? Yeah, the Astros turnaround, they had a massive amount of injuries at the beginning of the year as well. They proved their cojones throughout the season of fighting through it and being on top and overtaking Seattle. Seattle was leading the division for a long time as well. And good on the Astros. I'm not a fan of them, of course. My fiance is, but we're a house divided. So, by the way, still kind of weird to say fiance for the folks out there who don't know. I got engaged a week ago. So,
Stop it. No, I'm just kidding. See, when people get married, it's so much different for the man and the woman. For the woman, it's a celebration. Oh my God, you're getting married. So for a man, it's like you caught some disease. It's like, hey, did you hear Casey's getting married? No. Is there anything we can do? No, they've already picked the place and the invitations have gone out.
Well, invitations haven't gone out, but save the date text messages did. So, but no, that was awesome.
Pretty epic proposal.
Thank you.
With smoke and all that stuff. You can go on to Facebook or X and you can see probably a video of it. It was actually pretty epic.
Probably need to share it on X, but it's definitely on Facebook. But yeah, so thank you to my fiance Linda for saying yes. There was never really any doubt with that, but that would have been awkward on stage.
Yeah, that would have been really awkward.
Some advice that I gave my students who I did show the video to was know your female, your counterpart pretty well. Because if Linda would have been an introvert and I put her in that situation, it would have been horrible for me. So being on stage in front of a couple hundred people at where we did it was perfect. She's still glowing over the ring and all that jazz. So we took a little left turn. We got about 3.5 minutes left here. What was the sports pet peeve that you wanted to add to the list?
God, it's playing in these ridiculous places. The fact that Florida and who was it?
Florida State and Georgia Tech.
They played in Ireland. In Ireland, kicking American football in Ireland.
Trying to grow the game, man. Global game.
So it's really now.
Hey, it's basically professional football now.
It's like, I'm just looking for my Lucky Charms in Ireland. I don't know. I'm not talking like an Ireland. I talk like I'm from the UK, but that's the only accent I can't do in Ireland. So, but my whole thing is, they drive me crazy with this. The NFL, these people, they don't give a damn. They care about their football. They hear football, they're thinking, oh, football. They drop schedule. It's just like, who is it? It's LSU and USC. Okay, University of Southern California. Where are they located? Southern California. Where is LSU located? In Southern Louisiana. Where are they playing their first game? In Las Vegas. At the Las Vegas Stadium. What?
It's a neutral site.
Okay, so you're going to load up alley street for people. Man, we got to go. I just paid $400, $500 for a ticket, and now I got to drive all the way to Vegas.
Hey, it's a neutral site. It's like when two teams meet in Dallas.
That's the whole point. college football is the atmosphere of playing at home or playing
Look, man,
abroad at another
uh,
college stadium.
you sound like old man. Get off my lawn.
All right,
Like,
you're not in that damn lawn. Get back in your own damn stadium. You know,
all
I
right,
still have a problem with us playing at Jerry World every year against Arkansas. I realize it's the big Southwest Classic, but the big thing about the
if
Southwest
he went to
Classic,
Arkansas,
but I know that. So he brings us in to try and watch us get beat at Jerry World. Love the Kyle Field. Bring them damn hogs down to Kyle Field. We'll make some bacon. Stop
I'll
making
be
us
honest.
go to Jerry World. I
I
don't. It just drives me crazy with the, oh, we're playing in Mexico. We're playing in Bolivia. We're playing on the moon next week. They're going to have passes that will go 200 yards
look,
because
man.
they're zero gravity.
I gotta, they're trying. College football is basically, it's officially the minor leagues of the NFL with the players getting paid like they do now. So it is what it is. They're trying to grow the game. Everyone's trying to make more money. It's a money thing.
I think
It's not
Florida
about,
would have lost this game if they had played at home.
look, no, they wouldn't. They might have fans, lifelong fans in Ireland now. Like it's one of those things that they wouldn't have been
Really?
exposed to the brand
So
otherwise.
like, what's this stuff? I don't know what this was.
God, you can't even get the accent right. You're trying to
Now
mess.
I can't. Now I sound
So
like a vampire,
try.
but
Anyways, we got to sign off. We're up against it here because now I'm gonna have to edit time out of the episode because you took so long with your old man get off my lawn rant. I'm not endorsing that for the pet peeve list. They can stay on yours. It's not on the joint list. But folks, we appreciate you listening. I know it's been a while since we've been on. We're getting back on a consistent. School's back in. We're getting back on it on a weekly basis now. So thank y'all again. We love y'all. To all our normal people, we ain't got time to give the shout out tonight. So peace. We're out. Until next time, we'll see you next week.